Café Anyway.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Welcome to FF episode 2865, 2865, and Mike Matthews. Broadcasting, podcasting from
Mike's Daily Podcast.
Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley. How's it going? How is it? That's the song I'm singing to you. You see, I am on the charts right now. Oh, I just fell off. Nobody's listening to this song, but that's okay because it hit the top again. It's weird. The pop charts are very fickle. Did you notice?
Mike's Daily Podcast.
And it's interesting because I try and live a good life as if
Mike's
I lived in a blue zone.
Daily
What's a blue zone?
Podcast.
I had no idea what that was until I looked in the wonderful Costco connection, which somehow appears at my door like every month. And over the years, yes, 90% of it is commercials and stuff, but occasionally I find something that's fascinating. And this idea I didn't know about blue zones is this National Geographic explorer Dan Buettner in 2005 identified 5 regions in the world called blue zones that were blue circles drawn on maps by demographic researchers where people have consistently lived to be more than 100. Now, in Podcastro Valley, whenever I look in the local paper, the Forum, there seems to be someone else making it to 100. But I don't know if this is exactly a blue zone. Let me see here. While other studies have indicated skepticism of records in some of the blue zones, using the blue zone as a source of inspiration to adopt its principles may still help foster better health and well-being. And, here are the blue zones. Ikaria, which is in Greece, Okinawa, which is in Japan, Loma Linda, California, Sardinia in Italy, and Nicoya, which is in Costa Rica.
And here's today's podcast picture.
They had lower rates of chronic diseases such as diabetes, heart disease, cancer, and obesity. And they shared commonalities with a similar dietary pattern. So I guess the goal is to try and make wherever you live a blue zone. And isn't Loma Linda? I'm doing this live on Facebook if you go to the Facebook Mike's Daily Podcast page, that's, I guess, facebook.com/Mike's Daily Podcast. Oh, the late great Basil the Boxer. I don't think he went to Loma Linda either. But it is, let's see, scroll out on YouTube. Google, whatever, they own everything. They own Google. It is in LA. It's to the east of Los Angeles, near San Bernardino. Oh my gosh, how can anything live out in San Bernardino? Riverside? Oh, I've been to Riverside a couple times. And you see Riverside, and yeah, that was a long drive. Then you're south, a little bit of Victorville. People love it out there. Maybe because there's a lot of people retired out there. And they stay inside because it's hot. Oof. So it says here that whole grains and beans, they are like the most vital part of the blue zone diet. When they say that, though, it's like whole grains, beans and nuts, that kind of thing, because they offer folate, which is a B vitamin that helps make and repair DNA. Yes, your DNA can be made and repaired.
Now that's legit.
They are polyphenol rich, and that's got antioxidants and anti-inflammatory properties. You hear about that all the time. Oh, I need more antioxidants in my diet. Anti-inflammatories. That's what makes you feel better. It improves your heart, your brain, and overall wellness. Let's see, there's a high polyphenol whole grains inside of whole wheat rye, if you're trying to find that, as well as oats. So that's like oatmeal, sorghum, which I know what that is. And then and I know I use that word perfectly. Quinoa and wild rice. Oh, my cursor's deciding to go wherever it pleases. That's okay. Sorghum is the wonderful, it's millet, broom corn, guinea corn. It's a species in the grass genus. The grain is used for humans. The plant is used for animal feed and ethanol production. That's amazing.
I can't believe. What the hell is this place anyway?
It's Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth in the land of Ameritopica. So they say that you need more sorghum. So there's also, let's see, Blue Zone residents eat fresh seasonal veggies. From their gardens, especially leafy greens and tubers. And studies show that deep-hued plants are... But do I have any tubers in the backyard? Is there a YouTuber in my backyard? They better get the heck out. I don't want no influencers in my backyard. That would be studies... Although, I guess I am a YouTuber, sort of, that this podcast makes it onto YouTube at some point. If you go to... youtube.com and look up Mike's Daily Podcast, I'm on there. Studies show that deep-hued plants are beneficial to health and longevity. These fruits and vegetables provide carotenoids, antioxidants, fiber, and a variety of polyphenols, all of which are associated with longevity. And then centenarians from the Blue Zones consume the sugars that are naturally occurring in fruit, vegetables, whole grains. And at Café Anyway, they don't get sugars from processed or baked goods. The baked goods is what's bad, and the sugar that you get in the bags. Added sugar is usually in the form of a teaspoon of honey, like in tea. As we go outside of Café Anyway, where we bring you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth. Home-baked goods with added sugar are included in moderation, about one serving or less a day. And there is a Okinawan phrase that is hara hachi bu. And that is said before meals. It's a reminder to stop eating when the stomach is 80% full. And I'm pretty sure most Americans go over to 180% full. So the Okinawa ends up, the typical Okinawan consumes 1,800 calories a day. Americans consume about 2,500 calories a day. So that compared to 1,800, there we are at 2,500.
Mr. Matthews.
Thank you, kids. That's what you need to do, is consume less calories. Everybody listening. They tend to eat all their calories in about an 8 or 10 hour window, and dinner is the smallest meal of the day. It's eaten very early, as early as 4 p.m. for dinner. And coffee, tea, and water, they're prominently the big beverages that are drank in the Blue Zones. People in the Blue Zones enjoy moderate consumption of red wine with friends, about 1 or 2 glasses per day. The health benefits of red wine may be linked to resveratrol. That is an antioxidant that may protect the heart and the brain, resveratrol. So what about meat? Oh, you didn't see any sodas in that, of course, or beer, sadly. Meat in the Blue Zones is limited to celebratory occasions, not like an everyday thing. I think, is it dinner time? Time for steak. Gonna eat steak every night. What kind of rich guy is that saying that? But yeah, that was, I would say our parents or our grandparents were like, hey, let's eat steak all the time. But it was more of a celebratory thing, though, I think, probably.
You ready?
With my father's, probably my father's generation. But a serving of meat substitutes for lunch and dinner is beneficial around 6 ounces of meat per day. So it's a celebratory occasion. Seafood is eaten in 3 small servings a week. Just 3. Plant-based alternatives are legumes, black beans, chickpeas, tofu, tempeh, nuts, and seeds. I tried to barbecue tofu on the 4th of July. And of course, you can't put it on the grill. It would go right through. So I stick it on this foil pan, and it was okay. It definitely tasted better than just straight tofu, raw tofu. But it was the firm tofu, so it should be able to cook better than the soft tofu. You can do all kinds of interesting things, like put it in a smoothie to make it smoother. You can do like a scramble and add all kinds of seasoning, and it almost tastes like you're doing an scrambled eggs thing. But let's see, it says here, Blue Zone diet excludes cow's milk in significant amounts. They don't drink as much dairy. Sorry, dairy industry. People in Icaria and Sardinia consume fermented goats and sheep's milk. And there's no guarantees that adopting these tips will get you to age 100, says Costco Connection.
Oh, wow, that's wild.
Wild. Yes, wow, that's wild. But incorporating them can have an enormous impact on your longevity and overall quality of life. So some of the other things they say about a Blue Zone lifestyle, in wrapping this up, people have the right balance of lifestyle habits, which may lead to a longer life, moving regularly while carrying out daily activities, not just sitting in one chair all day, which I'm doing at the moment. Outside of Café Anyway, where it's so lovely. You can see if you're watching the live broadcast on Facebook at the Mike's Daily Podcast page. Having a sense of purpose in life is very important, which can add to one's life expectancy, and building strong social circles that support healthy behavior. Live in places where it's impossible to be lonely, as loneliness in America trims 8 years off your life. And make family and friends a priority, and involve yourself in a community to add years to your life.
It's Bison Bentley's. Do you know that?
Hey, this is Bison Bentley, and Mike Matthews has a couple of stories that'll make you want to ask yourself, do you know that?
Do you know that? Yes, I've heard that over and over again. The people that, hey, what do you attribute your longevity? How come you're over 100? And people say, oh, I've had a lot of close friends and family in my life. I'm always around people. You never hear the hermits explaining. Well, then I guess that's because they're all alone and the newspaper or the TV people can't interview them because they're hiding somewhere. Like outside a Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcaster Valley. I'm feeling a little bit like a hermit at the moment. But I'm going to pass this along to you. That the scammers are winning, according to the Associated Press. The Associated Press? The press, the sophisticated Associated Press. I'm coming up with some kind of weird word combination, I'm not sure, but sophisticated overseas criminals are stealing tens of billions of dollars from Americans every year. A crime wave projected to get worse as the U.S. population ages and technology like AI makes it easier than ever to perpetrate fraud and get away with it. Internet and telephone scams have grown exponentially.
Do you have any safe spaces?
Safe spaces?
Yes, where people can go to get away from the colonialist mentality. As long as there's a diversity, equity, and inclusion policy, we'll be fine.
Internet and telephone scams have grown exponentially, overwhelming police and prosecutors. So be vigilant, take care. Realize that victims rarely get their money back, including older people who have lost life savings to romance scams, grandparent scams, technical support fraud, and other common grifts. So what they suggest here, please say that if I can scroll far, oh my gosh. Here, the banking industry officials told a Senate committee in May they are investing heavily in new technology to stop fraud. There you go. Most of this article was a fear factor thing, was just trying to scare people. like this happened and that happened and someone shot that guy and etc. So I know you want those crazy, if it bleeds, it leads details, but I want to give you the details that help you. And the banking industry officials told a Senate subcommittee in May they are investing heavily in new technologies to stop fraud and get some hold. They have some hold of great promise. The American Bankers Association.
That's enough. Put down the mic.
Well, no, they say it's working on a program to coordinate real-time communication among banks to help better flag suspicious activity and reduce the flow of stolen funds. And law enforcement agencies and industry need to join forces to fight fraud more quickly and efficiently. A former FBI agent says, who launched a nonprofit called National Elder Fraud Coordination, the National Elder Fraud Coordination Center, to cultivate better cooperation between law enforcement and major corporations like Walmart, Amazon, and Google. Outside of Café Anyway, somewhere in Podcastro Valley, the last place on earth, look who's here in the land of Ameritopica. Hello, Michael Master, it's Madame Rootabega. I love to hear all about sorghum. Woo! Yeah, sorghum. I guess I need to start buying sorghum because it's supposed to be good for you.
Note to self.
That's a note to self. Do you like polyphenols? Yes. Do you like anti-inflammatories? Yes. How about antioxidants? No. Oh. Antioxidants. I guess they're kind of frightening to some people. Look who else is here.
Hello, Dave Mike. This is Valentino, the banking attendant.
And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that?
Mike, did you know that sorghum is closely related to maize and millets?
Oh. Yeah, millets. Do you know that? Oh, I did not know. Fascinating. Well, I want to thank you for listening to the podcast and getting all that fascinating information. And if you're watching on the Facebook Live thing, I hope you're enjoying this wonderful luchador t-shirt that I'm wearing. That someone told me today looks like a bunch of brain scan pictures. But that's okay, because you know what? If you'd like to call in and let me know about anything we covered today, here's the phone number.
Call Mike at the Café Anyway hotline. Area code 510-228-4640.
And with all things Mike's Daily Podcast, we go to the mainframe and hear from A-Frame about all things relating to this show.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at mikesdailypodcast.com. Email Mike now at mikesdailypodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye!